Well, we all know that the boom in travel over the last 10 years or so, especially camping, has really affected the ability to book campsites. So, on this episode, we have booked out our 7 week spring vacation, and we're going to talk about some of our impressions on what it's going to be like to book campgrounds in 2025. This is RV Miles. Chances are you've seen them on the road. That's because Blue Ox designs and manufactures the best towing products in the industry. Just look around. You'll find them on highways, in campgrounds, and anywhere you find people traveling in the great outdoors. From award-winning tow bars and base plates to a full line of weight-distributing hitches, adjustable ball mounts, and now they have fifth wheel hitches too. With Blue Ox, towing doesn't have to be a drag. Visit blueox.com for more information. Harvest Host is a membership that allows RVers to take a rest from the road and enjoy unlimited overnight stays at over 5,100 unique locations in North America, like breweries, farms, attractions, wineries, and much more. Easily plan and book your next RV trip and enjoy over $1,500 in exclusive member benefits by joining Harvest Host. Get 15% off your first year of membership with the code MILES. That's MILES. Go to harvesthost.com to become a Harvest Host member today. Welcome to episode number 342 of RV Miles. I'm Jason.
And I'm Abby, and we are two RVers who, along with our three boys, have been crisscrossing all over North America on one epic road trip since 2016. Here at RV Miles, we talk all things RV and outdoors, from industry news to national parks, travel destinations, and so much more.
Well, the Midwestern mid-fall has set in. We'll call it. It feels like winter, but this is what happens every mid-fall, where it just is gloomy all the time for a while and starts to get cold and below freezing and all that sort of stuff. So we've broken out the winter coats and the winter hats and all that. We did get to go to a tree lighting though, and that was really nice in our downtown here. It was a kind of the first time they've done it in a while. They reopened the new Arts Alley down here. There's a lot of construction and rehabilitation, a lot of hopefulness for our little downtown Rock Island here to become something special someday. We've got a lot of empty storefronts though. So we got to participate in a tree lighting with the mayor and other people and hang out and see the local high school choir sing and all that sort of stuff. And
Yeah,
it kind
it
of
was
feels
nice.
like the holiday season now, right?
It did. I mean, it decided on that particular day. The day before had been like 60, 65, sunny. It was gorgeous. And then that day, it was 30s. It was snowing. We were under a wind advisory, and it just comes in like a lion here. The absolute worst week. I mean, probably worst time of year in general, but worst week for me to decide to go on a cleanse and just, I'm eliminating a whole bunch of things out of my diet right now, pumping a bunch of other stuff into my body right now, trying to figure out a few things with my doctor. Could not have picked a worse time to do it. We have barely seen the sun this week. It has been cold. It has been windy. I am hungry. I am grumpy. I am tired. My body feels sick because it's just getting rid of a bunch of stuff. And it's like, why again am I doing this? And why? But I'm doing it, and we're doing it, and we're going to make it through. It's the holidays, that helps. But I am thinking often about the Florida RV Super Show and when we head to Tampa in less than 2 months.
Yeah.
I'm already counting that down.
We also got our first few snowflakes, a little bit of snow, nothing that stuck or anything, but some flurries, even heavier than flurries. So it's that time of year.
Which is the perfect time of year to be talking about 2025 travels. I mean, this is, for a lot of us, when we start to hunker down into these colder months, this is when we're really thinking about our RV. And, I'm wondering if my RV is thinking about me right now as much as I am thinking about it, and how much I am looking forward to getting out on the road, and then being able to talk about that today and why we had to change a few things up. We're going earlier than we thought we would be going, what that's going to look like for us.
We're doing a lot of stuff different than we are. As you may have come to expect if you have been following us for a while. We say we're going to do something, and then it all changes. So I know
records.
a few months ago we did a detour episode. So it's the show after the show we do for mile markers, where we talked at length about how we're not going to do these long 6-week vacations anymore. It was right after we got back from our southeastern trip, and we were like, we should really be doing sort of 2 weeks at a time and all that sort of stuff. But we just changed that all up and decided we're going to go out for 7 weeks in the spring, and that's what we're going to do. But a lot of that has to do with, it's just the chunk of time available away from all the kids' activities.
Yeah, so I think
works out for us.
That's probably the thing to talk about first as we dive into this. And that is that the reason, so originally we had talked about really having some heavier summer travel. So that was going to be we knew July was kind of off the table, but we were going to travel through into June. We were going to be back here by the 4th of July. Then we were going to travel again in August. As we started talking a little bit more about that. So 2 out of 3 kids are going to be in some kind of summer camp in July. So we'll have one in a theater camp. We'll have one all the way in Charlottesville, Virginia at a film camp. And as we started talking about that, we realized kind of what a disservice, especially we were doing to our son that wants to do this theater camp where they're putting on an entire musical, not an abridged version, but they will put an entire musical together in 2 weeks' time. It's very fast. And he is very hopeful that the show that they're doing is something that he really, really wants to do. And he wants to prepare for it. He wants to have a good audition. And part of having a good audition is staying up on your voice lessons. And so to take him away for 6, 7, 8 weeks and then plop him back down here 4 days before camp starts, 4 days before he needs to stand up in front of his directors and do an audition, that felt not right. As one who has stood up in front of people and auditioned for things, the last thing you want to do is be coming off of a 7-week vacation and then flipping your brain to being like, okay, now I have to get up here and I have to have this material that should be in my body and I should be able to do it. So that was a big thing. So we're like, look, we got to be back before June. We just got to be back. And then we started talking about when we got home, like if you listened to last week, we talked about visiting our friends in Fort Collins and what a wonderful time we had. And of course we left and all we could think about was how quickly can we get back to see them again and to see that area. We really enjoyed Fort Collins and that northern part of Colorado. And so that was another like deciding factor.
In fact, it was so much of a deciding factor that we entirely almost booked this whole 7-week set of travels on the drive back.
Yeah. So they better not switch up on us. I'm just saying, Rob and Rachel, don't change your plans.
It's not just about that.
No,
it fits in with a lot of what we wanted to do, because we were in a situation where we were talking about that. I guess if we start by jumping in on where we're going and why, we were going to talk about doing a spring ski trip to Colorado. And then we were going to have our bigger RV trip begin a little bit later.
Yeah, like
right?
mid-May is what we had originally planned.
And then we also talked about maybe having a RV Miles meetup in Colorado. And we were at the point where we were talking about going to Colorado for three times next year. And we're like, why are we doing that instead of just going once?
Just stay in Colorado. So
a lot of the places that we're going, we've been to before, but we're going to be doing kind of different things.
Well, we're about 50-50, I think, on everything. So we are kicking off. So we are leaving early April. We're going to be gone until right around Memorial Day. So a good 6 to 7 weeks, as Jason mentioned. So we're starting off our trip, first off, driving down beautiful I-80. Okay. We're going to that was such a game changer for us coming back from Colorado. We were like, this highway is fantastic.
Still boring.
It's boring.
But it's a great road.
But when you are pulling an RV and you got a big old fifth wheel behind you, it is going to be beautiful. Just zip, zip down the road.
Oh, you just just gonna drop that little nugget there that people are gonna
Just leave it there.
have to pick up on. Okay.
Which,
Uh,
you needed to not say anything. I dropped a nugget to see if anyone was going to grab it. And you just like, you took it. You can't take the nugget. Like, it's not for you.
Perhaps something else that we're taking back that we said we were going to do. Anyway,
Yeah,
so we're going to head to Fort Collins.
We're headed to Fort Collins. We're going to be staying at Horsetooth Reservoir. That's a county park there. Again, county park coming in clutch, you guys. If you're not paying attention to county parks, you are missing out.
Yeah, if you're one of those people who's like, I can't book the national park campgrounds that I want and stuff like that. Look at some of the county and parks. Even if state parks are too busy, county and municipal parks, sometimes they're harder to find, like, because they're not in the big booking system or whatever. But those are great places often to get reservations later. They usually don't book up quite as fast as the state and federal parks. And on this trip, we're doing a really wide swath of lots of different types of camping. So it's great that we're going to be in a county park. We're going to do some state park camping. We're going to do some national park camping. We're going to do some really, really bougie RV resorts, and we're going to do some boondocking, and we're going to do some harvest hosts. So we've got the full gamut of it. So when we talk here about our experience in booking some of these places, it's going to be the whole range. So the county park definitely came in clutch, and we had no issue. Plenty of sites available, able to book there right away.
Yeah. So we are spending some time in Fort Collins. And what's great about this county park too, is it is still, it's going to feel very remote. And yet we are only about a 10, 15 minute drive to our friend's house, which is wonderful.
Downtown Fort Collins.
Downtown Fort Collins. So we are going to be there with them for an extended weekend. And then we are making good on the spring skiing trip that we have talked about for several months. And we are going to go over to Breckenridge. We're going to spend a week in Breckenridge. Hopefully our friends are going to come meet us for a while. Hopefully your parents are going to come spend the week with us. And we're going to be staying finally at the place that we've all been talking about for years and years. Everybody goes, everybody talks about it. It's one of the most popular, I would say, sort of discussed campgrounds out there. And that is Tiger Run.
Yeah, Tiger Run's cool because it's one of the few places, like, there are just not a lot of places to go ski with an RV, a large RV. If you're not in a camper van or something like that, where you're staying in the parking lot and all that. But often, campgrounds aren't open all year round and aren't open during the ski season. So it will still be cold in Breckenridge in early April, mid-April, but it won't be it won't be terrible. We'll still potentially have below freezing temperatures, but as you go up into the mountain, the snow is there longer, so it's warmer down in the valley. And Tiger Run is one of those few places where you've got a campground virtually right in town with access to downtown Breckenridge and really close access to skiing.
And Tiger Run is a really unique resort too. Like, so for those of you that don't know exactly what Tiger Run is. So Tiger Run sort of operates a little bit like Airbnb or Vrbo in the sense that you do go through their website to book, but within that campground, people own their sites there and they rent them out to individuals to use during the time that they're not using them, right? Very similar to what, like I said, Airbnb and Vrbo. So we found a spot that we liked in the section of the campground we want to be in. And while we booked through Tiger Run, we're actually booking through the person that owns that site. So it's a unique situation. It's really the first time I can think of in our camping experience where we have done something like that.
I know a lot of it exists in places like Florida and stuff, but this is our first time doing one of these owner-owned campground places. So all the sites are a little bit different. They have different sections that are different sizes based on when they were built and stuff, but different owners have different amenities on their sites. And but they all seem to be very large. They've got great views of the mountains, and it's an expensive place.
Yes, it is.
It's I think we're paying like $98 a night.
Well, there's a reason why we went to a county park beforehand.
Yeah,
so
it's pricey now, and it costs, if you want to own a site in this place. They've got some for sale. You know how much it is?
I think you told me it was $500,000.
It was like $450,000 to $500,000 to own a site there.
Yeah,
that's wild.
hard pass. I mean, actually not. I mean, I guess it depends on, I'm not a big
You're making $100 a night on rentals of it.
I suppose I'm not a big skier. So, I mean, again, like for me, it's not a draw, but I mean,
a lot of people don't RV there in the winter. If you own a site there, you might only go there in the summer because that area is just as popular, if not more, during the summer.
Yeah.
So
we're living it up. We're going to go to Breckenridge. We're going for a week. We're going to do some skiing. And by we, I do mean Jason and probably Henry. He's interested in snowboarding. I'm going to be spending a lot of time just in Breckenridge, hanging out in lodges, drinking and reading. Like that's my goal for myself.
I gotta figure out a way to haul my skis in the.
I'm sure they can lay in the bed of the truck.
Yeah.
Or give them to your dad.
That's not a cool way to haul them.
No, we're not going to get a cool way. There will be no coolness.
You don't need a ski rack for the roof of the truck?
No, there will be no coolness happening when it comes to how we transport skis on this particular trip.
So I'm very excited about doing a real, Colorado ski trip. I went to Jackson Hole earlier this year and it was a lot of fun. That was a very, very hard mountain to ski. So I'm looking forward to something with more variety like Breckenridge. I've been to Breckenridge before, when I was like 16. So it's
I'm
been a long
excited
time,
for you.
but I'm going to have a lot of fun doing that. And I think you're going to have a lot of fun in town. I think you're going to like it there a lot.
I do not doubt that I will be able to find things to entertain me while we're there.
RV Miles is sponsored by eTrailer.com. Let's be real, some people are just plain hard to buy for, but eTrailer's got you covered. At eTrailer, they know that the right gift can make someone's day, but figuring out what that is, well, that's the tricky part. That's why they've done the heavy lifting for you. They've handpicked their favorite products with one goal in mind, making your holiday shopping easier. They're not just any gifts, they're recommendations from their own team, enthusiastic experts who know trailers, towing, and outdoor gear like the back of their hand. Forget hunting for the perfect present or second-guessing your choices. With their 12 days of deals, they'll deliver not just discounts, but the solutions to your gift-giving headaches, because who needs more stress during the holidays? They're happy to help you get it done, find the perfect gift, and skip the hassle. Make the season merry, simple, and maybe even a little fun at eTrailer.com/gifts. This episode is sponsored by the folks at RV Life. The RV lifestyle is about community, and the RV community is at the heart of RV Life. RV Life recently celebrated the 1 millionth trip planned with RV Life Trip Wizard. They're excellent trip planning tool for RVers, featuring all the trusted reviews, pictures, and tips from their RV Life campground site. RV Life also features several blog sites and over 20 additional RVing forums to serve the RV community. All this experience and community feedback come together to help create a fantastic RV trip planner and mobile navigation tool collectively called RV Life Pro. RV Life has marked a milestone of over 3 billion miles traveled using RV Life Pro, counting both the planned RV trips and ad hoc navigation taken with the included RV Safe mobile app. Get 25% off RV Life Pro at the link in the description for this episode.
So we've got a county park. Now we've got a rather bougie resort. So why not leave and go boondocking?
Yeah,
so that is where we're headed after we leave Breckenridge. We are going to head to the Glenwood Springs area. We're just going to boondock for a couple of nights.
There's a decent amount of boondocking available in northwestern Colorado. Mm-hmm. So we're going to cross I-70 into northwestern Colorado, and we're going to go to Glenwood Springs for a bit. Glenwood Springs is some hot springs where I, again, was there when I was like 14, 15. But it's where Doc Holliday died, where he went to sort of live out the last days of his life. And it's kind of a cool hot springs, giant hot springs pool. Yes, I'm bringing you back into Tombstone.
I'm trying to remember. Is that Kevin Costner? No, hold on. Sorry, that's why I derped.
Is not in Tombstone.
Is it? Hold on. Is it the Twister guy? Is it the guy from Twister? Bill Paxton?
Don't listen.
Is it Bill Paxton? No. Is it Sam Waterston?
Sam Waterston.
Wait, what is his name? Wait. The guy that
Sam Elliott.
Yeah, he does
Sam Waterston is Law and Order.
He does the USAA commercials now with Gronk. Is that who it is? Did he play Doc?
No, you're.
Oh my God!
You're nowhere near. You're just all over the place. Listen.
Okay, I'm done.
First of all,
moving on.
again,
I can't.
we've gone through this
I
again
know,
on this
I
podcast
can't
before.
with these movies.
Kevin Costner, not even in the movie. Okay.
Listen, it is not my fault that there was a period of time
It's
where we
Val
decided to
Kilmer
put
plays
Val Kilmer.
Doc Holliday.
Oh, that's right. He
it's
gets
like
really
Val
sick.
Kilmer's most iconic role ever.
Right. Is it?
It is.
Okay. That's right. Look, there was a period of like we like to do this in the movies. We like to make a movie 5 different ways about the same character. So there was a period of time where 2 movies came out where they were about the same person.
Didn't come out anywhere near at the same time.
And I never watched any of them, but I have married into a family that loves Tombstone.
Nobody cares about the Kevin Costner
up
Wyatt
here
movie.
With the Tombstone love, it's so high that I'm out of frame. If you're watching this, that's how high it is. I'm out of the frame. I'm out of the shot. I can't keep up with it. I'm sorry. So we're going to go where Val Kilmer died.
Not.
And where
Doc Holliday died.
Val Kilmer, iconic role, Doc Holliday died. So Jason can pay pilgrimage to this place. And then
I've been there before, and it is a wonderful place. And
so you've already done your
But there's
your
also a great hike that I'm excited to take you guys on up to a place called Hanging Lake. That is
sounds
really cool.
Really ominous, but that's fine.
Oh God. No, it hangs up in the mountain. It's because it's a lake up in the mountain. It's just hanging up there. It's not like where you go. Oh
I'm
my
just
God.
saying, you just got done talking to me about the Earp brothers, and were they all brothers, right? There were multiple of them?
Yes.
And Doc Holliday was their friend?
Yes.
Okay. Anyway, I will never remember any of this, and that's fine.
You don't need to.
We are going to leave.
Not important. The movie, none of the people, and it has nothing to do with any of this. Not important.
We're not. It's like we're going to a Hollywood set or something. So we're going to leave Glenwood Springs. We're going to continue our boondocking journey, and we're going to go down to Grand Junction.
Yeah,
so
it's not very far. So we'll just be moving down the road a little bit so that we can visit Colorado National Monument, which we've wanted to do for a long time.
The number of National Park Service sites that we're going to get to visit on this trip is really, we're ticking off a lot of bucket list stuff this time. Getting to go to Colorado National Monument is partly due to the fact that we have always, in all those years that we've been on the road, we wanted to go.
And we've driven past it several times and been like, wait a minute, why?
Why? Well, for the longest time, it was connectivity.
Yeah.
So we needed service in order because we needed to be able to work. And there is no service in that park at all. And then also camping in the area was, when we had the bus, we weren't really that equipped. Bus and the Pioneer, we weren't really equipped for boondocking. Yeah. And then when we had the Sabre, again, we were just usually flying through that area.
There are nice campgrounds in Grand Junction. We actually stayed at one last time we were there. But
so there's lots of, it's not an impossible place to stay. It's always been something that we weren't being intentional about, and therefore it never happened.
It's always just been kind of a place that was a stopover on the way to something else. And we've been like, why aren't we staying here for a few more days and visiting Colorado National Monument?
We'll clearly see the exit that we get off on, and there's like a rest area over there that we've stopped at numerous times to use the bathroom, but we've actually never continued on into the park. So this time we're going to boondock. We're going to spend a few days going and getting to finally see this park that the people who have gone, it's one of those, I think, that will be up there for us in the similar way that Bandelier National Monument is, where you're like, this is so much more than a national monument. Again, it's sort of like why labels when it comes to the National Park Service, you can kind of take them or leave them. There's a lot of times no difference between
we've
national
seen so many videos
of
it and stuff that we're like, what, this is such an amazing place that I think a lot of people skip. So I'm excited about getting there.
Yeah. So these are all new stops to me. Outside of Fort Collins, I will have never been to Breckenridge. I will never have spent real time in Grand Junction, and I will never have really spent a lot of time in Glenwood Springs.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited from that. So from there, this is now we've boondocked. It's time to head back to an RV resort. And this is where it gets even more exciting. We've already been having some wonderful adventures, but now we're adding the community back into this because we are heading to right outside of Park City to Colville, Utah, where we're working with a campground there to host a hangout, an RV Miles
Yeah. It
hangout.
won't be as big of an event as our annual homecoming
No.
rally, but this is going to be just like the title says. It's going to be a hangout. We're calling it the High Desert Hangout.
Yeah, we're
It's
very
going to be
excited.
3 nights where we just chill out together, and it's not going to be super regimented. We're going to have a few activities and things going on, but it's going to be a fantastic time at a great resort.
This resort is awesome. So it has a river that meanders through the resort itself. They have zip lines and rope courses for the kids. They have beautiful
Or adults.
adults. And what's wonderful about this place too is that they also really work hard to be a dark sky park so that you can really enjoy these beautiful Utah nights. And so we're really excited for this. This event, the High Desert Hangout, is going to take place from May 1st to May 4th. We have tickets going on sale for mile marker members starting December 2nd. It'll be $40 a person for mile marker members plus the nightly camping fee, and they're going to be giving us a discount on camping as well. And then we're going to put it on sale to the general public in the new year, starting on January 6th. And that ticket for the general public will be $50 per person, plus your nightly camping fee. And that's just going to be to cover costs of, we'll have a t-shirt for the event. There'll be swag bags. You know, we're going to have campfire hangouts and morning seminars, and we're going to go on a group hike. And it's going to be like Jason said, it's not going to be as planned out or as regimented as homecoming is, even though homecoming, we still try to leave downtime for everybody. But it is a chance for us to get out to the Southwest and the West to make connections.
Yeah, there's nothing south about this.
Well, I mean, in the sense of like meeting up with people who live in the Southwest and the West, right? Yeah. Like making these treks a little bit more accessible for them so that we have an opportunity to hang out with all of you as well. But the big kind of hiccup in all of this is that we are keeping hangouts. When we host hangouts, we're keeping them very, very small. We're only going to have about a maximum of 15 RVs. So it is an opportunity for us to all feel like we can really get to know one another, have a real chill environment. And just, again, that's why we're calling it a hangout. So you can go to rvmiles.com/hangout Utah. And there you're going to get all of the information about what we just talked about, all the dates that tickets are going to go on sale so you can mark your calendar. And we're very, very excited that we could couple this with our family trip and get an opportunity to connect with our friends in the West and the Southwest.
Yeah, it's a beautiful area too. It's a sort of Echo Canyon area, and there's the Echo Lake Reservoir there. And I'm really excited about this. It's going to be a lot of fun. So save the date. We'll have, I'll continue to have more details, and the link, of course, will be in the description. Is your truck riding rough and uncomfortable when you're towing your RV? Upgrade your truck's suspension with ease with Timbren SES. Timbren's innovative suspension system provides a smoother, more comfortable ride even on the toughest roads. Timbren SES is easy to install and requires no maintenance. It's the perfect solution for RV owners who demand the best out of their tow vehicle. Control body roll and sway, all while reducing sag and squat. Experience the difference with Timbren SES. Head over to Timbren.com, that's TIMBREN.com, and pick up a kit today. Your RV adventure awaits. Part of why we're staying there is we are making our way up from there into Wyoming.
Yep.
And I had such a great time in Jackson Hole earlier this year. And we have, as a family, always wanted to go spend some time at Grand Teton. So what we are doing, I'm just realizing this release today.
Oh no. Should we stop right now and see?
No, we'll just finish talking about this and talk about how we screwed it up. So what the plan is to go to Jackson Hole and spend a little bit of time on the south end of Grand Teton National Park, and then spend some time on the north end of Grand Teton National Park. So we have the Gross Venture Campground booked, which is close to the town of Jackson Hole. So we get to visit Jackson Hole in the south side of the park. And then on a rolling basis, the Coulter Bay Campground, which is a very popular campground, has just released today as we're recording this, and we put notes in it as to save the date to book it at first thing in this morning, and we didn't do it. So
No, and they're not letting me.
oh, they're not letting you. It's not available.
It's not open.
Okay, so we're
Hi,
not
we're
going to be
back.
staying at that campground because it doesn't open until later in the season.
So-
We'll be there 2 weeks before it opens. So
Fast forward in time.
that's not happening. So hopefully we can extend our stay at Gross Venture Campground. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. I'm sure it's pronounced like French or something like that.
Gros Venture.
Yeah.
Well, probably not that either. We will figure that out off mic later this afternoon. But again, that's sort of sometimes recreation.gov, sometimes the campground information per each park. It's all kind of worded different, which can get really frustrating. And in this case, the way this was worded was not very clear as to the season actually starting May 22nd. It just said that the booking window would open November 22nd. And you really had to dig a little bit to find where it said that the season is also starting on May 22nd. So that's okay. That's the joy of this kind of lifestyle, is that you can be very fluid with how you want to do things. And so we're going to figure
something else out.
We'll just, there's so many places
that
we
is
could
one of
go.
the issues. Well, we want to talk about some of the issues that we've had in booking these travels. The thing that really struck me, and it does every time we do this, but is it continues to be difficult at campgrounds run by the National Park Service in particular, or just federal campgrounds in general, that they don't have at least some similarities in the way they release campsites.
Yeah.
I don't know why. That it can't be that we just always do. It's a rolling monthly basis. So in July, the September campgrounds are released, or whatever it might be. We always do it the same wherever, or we just open them all up at the same time at the beginning. I don't know.
Well, I think that's difficult. I don't think you can open all of the campgrounds at the same time.
No, it would
every
just
year.
crash the site. It's what they do in Canada, but it would crash the site.
But also, when each park is going to open up is slightly different.
Yeah.
I think if we could just have, personally speaking, and I love recreation.gov. I find the site itself to be very easy
isn't the problem.
to use.
It's the actual rules that the individual parks have that are all different.
I wish we could just have a flat 6-month window.
Yeah.
Whatever the season start date is.
Yeah.
So for instance, here at Coulter Bay, season start date is May 22nd. That's when the campground is going to open. Okay, great. They're opening up reservations for that day on November 22nd. Can we do that for every campground? So even all that the user is looking for is the season start date. And so you're just looking at that individual campground and you're saying, okay, like when does Mammoth open for the year? Or when does Coulter Bay open for the year? When does, is the Watchman open year long? Is like, you're looking to find like the campgrounds that are going to close. When are they opening back up? And then that is going to go on sale for the season at the beginning of 6 months. And then it's 6 months from when it opens. And then if you don't want May 22nd, but you want June 22nd, well, it's always just 6 months. It's always 6 months. It's very similar like with Disney. We know that dining opens 60 days before your trip, right?
Yeah.
Doesn't matter when your trip is. Doesn't matter. It's 60 days, not 2 months. And that's really important too. It's not 2 months. It's 60 days.
Just some standardization so we don't get confused. I think a lot of times they think that, people are going camping in this one place and that's all they're doing. They don't realize that we're booking trips that involve several locations, and it can get confusing. I do want to say about recreation.gov though, there are a couple things that I found really helpful that have really improved over the years when I was booking some of these campgrounds, because we've gone back and forth at who does the booking in our relationship over time. Like I used to do it all, then Abby did it all. And
now
like
you're back.
now on this trip, Abby happened to be driving us back from Fort Collins, and I was doing all the booking. And what I found really helpful is that they've really cleaned up and organized on the individual campground pages all the information. So the campsite list is great, but the season and fees tab is really useful. And this is the one I should have checked for this particular campground, because they have like a timeline where they list the season open date. They list when they show when reservations start. They show which dates aren't released. They show the season closure date, and they have there whether it's a 6-month window, how they list above that little timeline, how this particular campground releases sites. And that can be some information that's hard to find. I also want to point out the ratings and reviews tab on recreation.gov. This is something I'd never noticed before, but the ratings and reviews all list the individual site that person stayed at.
Yeah.
And when you click on a site, when you're about to reserve a site, it shows the ratings for that site, and people are explaining stuff about that actual site.
That's really nice.
Not just the whole campground. It can really help you figure out, this site is exactly 40 feet. Can my 40-foot RV fit in this? I'm a little concerned about it. You can gain some information there about that kind of stuff. And I think that's really important.
It's definitely gotten better. And I think for those of us that have been using it for a long time, I think that we just now, as you all experienced with us, was user error on our part, having used this site for so long and sort of being accustomed to the way it was. And then there are things that are changing within it, and you don't think to look for those changes. You don't think you're so accustomed to how you've been doing it. That's user error. I mean, good on, again, all of these campground websites, the state parks, the federal parks, even the private campgrounds, trying to improve their reservation websites for all of us so that it's easier. I think, again, it's just your head is so used to how you've been doing it for so long that you didn't stop to try and find hidden nuggets of information that were maybe buried in there somewhere, but they were there. You just didn't look for it. And so that's on us, and we're going to find a different place to stay.
Yeah.
Maybe we can find some boondocking around there. Who knows?
So, of course, Grand Teton National Park and Yellowstone are essentially sister parks. They touch each other, and it makes no sense to go to Grand Teton without visiting Yellowstone. We contemplated not going.
We did go to Yellowstone once without going to Grand Teton.
That was different because we came in from the top, right?
Yeah, we did.
And I think coming this direction, and we were last at Yellowstone in 2020. There was a lot of smoke and haze when we were there. And we were excited about being able to go back to Yellowstone, and this time be able to stay in the park, because last time we stayed in West Yellowstone, which was nice. We also stayed over at Henry's Lake State Park, which was also very nice, an Idaho State Park. But both of those take a long time. Even though West Yellowstone is right on the edge of the park, you still take a lot of time to get anywhere into the park.
Our campground that we stayed at,
its fence was Yellowstone National Park, but it's still, if you wanted to get to anywhere meaningful in the park, it took a good hour.
It was an hour to get to Old Faithful. Yeah. So we are staying, this time we are headed to Mammoth first.
Yeah. Which is up in the Mammoth area, which is at the top of the park, the northern end of the park. We're going to start there and spend a few days up there.
And that'll be dry camping inside that campground. We're really excited to go over there because that was probably a part of the park we didn't spend a lot of time in when we were there in 2020, because again, we were over in West Yellowstone. And so the amount of time it took to drive over to that area of the park was quite substantial. So I'm looking forward to being able to experience that part of the park. And then we're going to be able to go over after that. We have booked Fishing Bridge for several nights. So we're going to be able to give you all kind of a report on what Fishing Bridge is like now that they have completely redone this campground. I'm really excited. And
we were late getting to this.
Oh boy, were we late.
Because this whole swing that we're doing, this was not on our radar that we would be doing any of this, right?
Nope.
So this whole plan came into place with like, okay, let's start by trying to book Fishing Bridge because that's going to be the hardest one to get to. And we really didn't have, we missed the window, of course.
Well, they book out, I believe, a year in advance, and we jumped in.
I'm not sure exactly what the window is.
I'm not sure either, but when I went to look 6 months in advance, everything, and actually longer, because I was looking into June as well. So when this was the beginning of November, so 7 months in advance. Everything was gone. Everything for an RV over 30 feet gone.
Yeah. But we were patient, and we found an opening, and we got a 4-day opening. It's not, a long opening by any means, but so that's why we're pairing it with Mammoth. And I think that's a great thing to do. We've talked about this in the past. Our experience in Yellowstone last time was like, oh, it would probably not only make sense to stay in the park, but actually stay on a couple campgrounds in the park because it's just so big. So Fishing Bridge, if you don't know, it's the only full hookup campground in the park, and it has it's the only electric hookup campground too, right? It's the only any hookup campground, and it is run by a concessionaire, and because of that, the sort of the windows of booking are different. And that's another thing that's a little bit annoying. Like, you have some campgrounds at Yellowstone that have a certain booking window, and you go through recreation.gov, and you have some campgrounds at Yellowstone that are booked through Xanterra, and it's different. So you have to play the game, and you can't book them at the same time and all that sort of stuff. But we were able to grab 4 nights there, which is great. So we're going to be able to spend a little bit over a week in Yellowstone. We do have that all booked, so that's not a problem.
That's all taken care of.
We just got to go back and figure out that Coulter Bay thing. But I think,
and maybe we come in a little bit early to Yellowstone. That's something we might consider doing.
But just like we did to Alaska, we booked. In almost our entire time in Alaska was booked around the dates we found for going out to
Riley Creek,
Teklanika.
Oh, I'm never gonna get it right.
And I think that is really the way to do it. If you have like a really great place that you want to go and it's hard to book that first, make that the sort of centerpiece, and then work your way back home from there on each direction, right?
Yeah.
And that's kind of what we did here.
So that was, again, if Fishing Bridge is on your bingo card for 2025, good luck. You might want to shift it to your 2026.
But people cancel.
But people do cancel. So if you have that flexibility, and we've got some space in here that we might be able to play around as and do a little site hopping if we want. But the thing about that is, again, like, that booking window was so much further out than user error. We were thinking 6-month rolling window. We're going to Yellowstone. Just even all these years later, it is still just as hard for us to keep track of every different window opening that is out there. And these concessionaires are often so very different than how the park campgrounds are run, and also their booking windows. So, but don't give up like we did. There's lots of, you can set reminders. You can use Camp Scanner to have them run constantly. They'll let you know if something opens up, and we'll probably do that and just kind of keep an eye on what's going on at Fishing Bridge. So we're staying there, and then we're leaving, and we're going to do one night at a Harvest Host. And maybe that's what we'll do with Coulter Bay too, is maybe we'll try to find a Harvest Host either near Jackson.
Much there, but we'll try.
We'll figure something out.
But we're going to then start the swing back home.
Yeah. Now becomes the hook back.
But we are going to, because we hate backtracking, right? We hate going places then coming back the same route. So it is a big loop that we're taking, and we're going to make our way across Wyoming. We're gonna boondock a couple nights, probably at Harvest Host across Wyoming, and then we're going to get to Devil's Tower. Now, we've been in the Black Hills region before a couple times and have never done Devil's Tower.
Yeah, so this is now our third new to us national park major national park
Yeah.
site that we have wanted to do. This will be our third one that we get to check off on this trip.
So we're going to stay right there at the Devil's Tower KOA, which looks right at Devil's Tower. You know, they play Close Encounters of the Third Kind, so you can
I
watch the movie and we'll have
don't like that
have that
movie.
whole experience. But I'm excited about getting there. We're just going to spend a couple days there.
We'll have mashed potatoes while we're there.
And then we're going to make our way over into the Black Hills region proper, into the town of Custer. We would have loved to stay at Custer State Park. It is one of our favorite places. We've stayed at the Bluebell Campground twice. We've stayed at the Angostura Recreation Area, which is down in Hot Springs. We love that whole area, but this time,
All booked.
Custer totally booked.
Well,
And
it's coming up on Memorial Day weekend.
It is Memorial Day.
It is Memorial Day
It's
weekend.
Memorial Day weekend. So we did have to book a private campground. But luckily, we've heard so many suggestions over the years for great private campgrounds in this area. And we asked in the Facebook group, in the RV Miles Facebook group, for some more suggestions and got lots of great ones. But we did end up booking a site at the Big Pine Campground, which came highly recommended and had decent prices and availability for Memorial Day weekend.
Yeah, I mean, we have a camp scanner going for Bluebell. Like, we'll keep our eye on it. We're back into, again, a phase where we're hindered by size. And so it's just something that we have, we're not taking Bexy out. So being 25 feet sort of always opened up a little bit more to us. And that's not going to be the case this spring and summer. So, again, there were spaces in Bluebell. They were not spaces for us.
No, there were no spaces. The space,
there was at least one that was under 30.
The spaces were cabin sites. They looked like they were open, but
right.
they list them as like 20 foot long, but they're cabins.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. They were cabin sites that were tricking us.
There maybe was a couple spaces at a couple of the other Custer State Park campgrounds, but
I was only half listening at this point because I was driving. So I was a little focused on what was happening on the road.
We're hoping some family will join us there again, just like we are hoping they will in Breckenridge, because it's actually not that bad of a drive from both your parents in Kansas City and my parents here. We're only about 9 hours from home once we're in
it's Memorial Day
the
weekend.
Badlands, and it's a good time for them to take off work and all that sort of stuff. And we're gonna cap off visiting the Black Hills region with then going to Badlands National Park and hopefully staying in the park for a couple of nights. That window has not yet opened. That opens.
I just saw
on
that
11/27. So I guess set a reminder in the phone.
Yes, because that is the day that that's our drive day to Kansas City for Thanksgiving. So we're going to want to make sure that we do not forget to do that. So I'm really excited to return to Custer, to return to Badlands. There's a little bit happening with this trip. I'll get to that in a second. So we're going to do these couple nights at Badlands. We're going to do a couple more harvest hosts. And then on our way back, 2 more. And then we will be back here, literally the very last day of May. We return back to this area and we are home. And so a couple of things about this trip as we have talked about it now. So we had put this big spreadsheet together. That's kind of new for us, putting a spreadsheet together.
It really, we're still relearning how to not be full timers. Whereas full timers, we kind of just oh, this is open, we'll go here.
We'll go here. So we had put this spreadsheet together and then we sent it out to our family and to our friends. And we said, hey, we're going here in the spring and the summer, or actually it's just the spring.
Yeah.
Come and meet us.
These are the sites that have cabins. These are the campgrounds that have cabins or in a town where there's going to be hotels. Join us wherever. And these are the days we're going to be there. And hopefully some folks in our family will be able to join us at some of these places. I'm excited about that.
Yeah, so we did that. And I realized as we were going over this today that this is really a little bit of a feel-good tour for us. I think that we're going back to some places
that we just love,
that we really loved during our full-time travel, places where we felt the most connected to what we were doing. Those are places like Yellowstone, that time we spent in Yellowstone
And
with,
places where there's so much more to do still that we didn't get
yeah.
to do.
And there's really wonderful memories there. Like
Mhm.
Yellowstone and Custer, the memories I take from those places are the time we spent with Rob and Rachel and Bianca and David and Fraser, and, you know, then having the chili cook-off, you know, driving those roads. I remember so vividly when we did a photo shoot for LL Bean, like while we were in Custer. And it was just the most ridiculous thing, first off, to think that we were doing this photo shoot of our family and LL Bean stuff in Custer. But also at the same time, we all had, like, the five of us had such a good time doing it. And there were some really beautiful pictures that came out of that time.
Custer, if Custer State Park has not been on your radar, it
so
rivals
wonderful.
the vast majority of national parks out there.
Yeah, South
It's
Dakota will
wonderful.
literally have to have it wrestled from their cold, dead hands
Yeah, that's
before
not
they
happening.
let it be turned into a national
yeah.
park. You know, we're doing that. We're going to, we're making good on wanting to kind of reconnect you with that part of yourself that was the skiing part of
Yeah.
yourself, and that relationship that you have with your family doing that.
Almost all of my big vacations as a kid were skiing in Colorado. So this is going to be a really great sort of thing for me, I think.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. The only thing, and we just couldn't figure out how to do it for this trip, the only thing that's really missing for me is stepping my feet into New Mexico. Like, I really
Well,
wish.
we know that we're going to do that in the fall.
We know we're going to do that in the
So-
fall. We know we're going to Balloon Fiesta. We're going to try to.
We don't know that we have
Well-
a campsite for Balloon Fiesta, but we,
Yeah, I should probably look
we're
into that.
planning
But
on it.
that's the
I think they
hope.
open in January.
Yeah.
So I want to give just kind of an overall impression, though, of a few things about booking this trip.
Mhm.
First of all, as you can see, this is a lot of campgrounds. There's still a couple holes that we that we haven't figured out. The one we've screwed up. Wasn't that hard to spend a day and a half to deal with all of this? We're pretty much able to get it all taken care of. It wasn't that bad. Yes,
Yeah.
there were some issues with availability, but we adapt and do something else and figure it out. So don't be discouraged about availability. There is more availability at campgrounds than there was in sort of the height of the pandemic. Maybe not at some of the federal, very popular national park
Well, yeah, like as we
campgrounds,
learned at Fishing Bridge.
but there is
But,
some more
yeah.
availability in general. And because of that, I do think private campground prices, they're all over the place,
Mhm.
but they're moderating a bit.
Are they moderating, or because I'm gonna jump in here and I'm gonna say what I found really frustrating or eye-opening about this process too was trying to adhere to a budget that allowed us to go to all of the places we wanted to go to without blowing the lodging blowing the lodging I can't even say the word, without blowing the lodging budget sky high. And
Yeah.
where I found that to be the most frustrating was when we would look at state parks.
Well, so that's
And
and
that
that's a
really
whole other end of
frustrated
it. So
me.
all the state parks have really come up in price over the
Mhm.
years. And that's it. Now there's some parks, now there's some states that are charging more for out-of-state visitors and all that. We've talked about that in the past, but the public lands campgrounds are definitely creeping up in price, whereas the private campgrounds are starting to creep down, but they're not doing it. It's not across the board. It's like
No.
one campground is still up here at $120, while the other one has dropped down to 60 or 70, right? And 60 or 70 can still seem pretty
It is
high.
still pretty
but
high.
like there are some campgrounds that are in the 60 to 70 range that have all the amenities, have all kinds of stuff.
Absolutely.
And then there are others that are in the 60 to 70 range that have absolutely nothing.
They're like, you could have a back end with 30 amp, but no sewer.
And your neighbor's right here. Like, and
Yes, thank
it
you.
literally from looking at all the different places I looked at over the course of booking this, it is just all over the map. And I do think, I think some of these campgrounds that are charging an arm and a leg are going to be in for some hurt next year.
Well-
when their competitors, because there is data out there that there is a reduction in the number of people booking campgrounds next year. I think I said this on the news a couple of weeks ago. Is Jellystone campgrounds say that their reservations are down 14 to 17% or something
just
like
people
that?
are exhausted from booking so far out in advance. I
That
think
might be
that's
too,
part of
but
it.
I
We're just
think
tired of it.
campgrounds are going to start having to compete a little bit with each other. One of the things one of the executives of Jellystone said in that, it was a presentation to a lot of other Jellystone owners. One of the things he said was, we may have reached the price limit of what people are willing to pay.
At a Jellystone, I guarantee it. Look, no shade Jellystone. Our family has been a couple of times in the 8 years to a Jellystone. And I've always left, always thinking to myself, even pre-pandemic, nothing about this campground matches the price I just paid for this campground.
It's another one where some of them, I would think there's like 50 or 60 Jellystones, don't quote me on that. But it's another one of those situations where some of them are these epic resorts with brand new water slides and big water play areas and just amazing places with everything. And some of them are just like, we've got kind of a pool that's, we've got a rectangular pool that doesn't get cleaned very often.
It's holiday versus journey, right? Like at least I know with a KOA journey that I'm getting something that I would be different than a KOA holiday.
But they all seem to be priced the same in Jellystone. It always seems like you're paying the same price for a kind of crappier one as you are for a really good one.
Is not the first place I go looking for.
They are franchises, so they all do choose their own rules and pricing and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But it is that's just an example, but you can rinse and repeat that across the board. There's a huge discrepancy in locations, amenities, all that sort of stuff. You can have matching location, matching amenities, and you can have two parks that are wildly different prices. And I think there's going to be a bit of a reckoning of that soon.
Yeah, there's more campgrounds being built, which needs to happen. We need to have more people enter the market and offer variety and competition. We need more competition in the market. That is very clear, and that is starting to happen. And I think that is only going to benefit the RV consumer. And I think also the campgrounds themselves, because those who cannot compete are going and who have been competing at a level where like, well, I'm just a campground and I'm open and there's no one else around me. So you have to pay the price of whatever I say and I don't have to do anything about it. When there is more competition, you also have to kind of take care of what you have in order to continue so that it will grow. You cannot have a garden if you do not take care of that garden. It will die and you will not have anything fruitful. Therefore, your campground will go away. So I think that there's going to be a little bit more of that as we move into 2025 and 2026. I'm really excited for this campground that we're staying at in the Park City area. It's a new campground. They're a fairly new company to us in the sense that we have never stayed in one of their parks before.
And we'll give you all the details about them at a later date. But it's really cool.
Yeah, but it's an example of, I think, again, some fresh air coming into this market for all of us, bringing some innovation and some new ideas.
A new operator looking at doing things in a little bit.
And that's exciting. And we need that. We need to grow. So
now you know our route.
This is our route.
You know what we're doing. We'd love to know your thoughts on all the places we're going. If there's any places that you think we should hit along the way that we shouldn't miss.
Give me the coffee shops.
You got any advice about some of the places that we haven't been, like Grand Tetons? We'd love to hear them in the comments on the YouTube version of this, or you can post them in Facebook on the Facebook group or wherever you might want to do that, or just email us privately even. We'd love to hear from you.
Yep. All right. It is now time to check the level of our tanks. And this is sponsored by our friends over at Liquefied RV Toilet Treatment, the No BS toilet treatment. You can find them on Amazon or over at liquefiedrv.com. Okay, Jay, what is in your black tank this week?
Well, I just read today from our friends over at the Mobile Internet Resource Center, some stuff happening with Starlink. They have returned to having a wait list in some areas. And this is a big thing right now. A lot of people, I don't know why, thought the wait list was going to be gone for good. The wait list just ended because they had more capacity on the network and could bring in more people. Now we can debate whether they actually had that capacity, because in a lot of areas, speeds have drastically reduced. And that was part of this article. I think, especially you're going to see that if you're going to be in the Southeast this winter on Starlink, you're going to see some speed issues down there. So Starlink has brought back the wait list. And what that means for a lot of people, there are a lot of people that decided they don't want to do the, whatever they call it now, the roam plan, which is for travelers, which costs a little bit more, and that they're just doing the residential plan and changing their address wherever they go, which you could do when they had open availability across the country. But now that areas are back on the wait list, if you enter one of those wait list areas, you're not going to be able to change your address to that area.
Wow.
So you're either not going to have Starlink in that area, or you're going to have to switch to the roam plan, at least temporarily. So it's a really big thing that I think people need to be aware of going forward. And now if you're in one of these areas, there's going to be a wait list. You can still get the roam plan, which is not waitlisted anywhere. You're going to be able to take that wherever you go, but that is deprioritized.
And it's expensive.
And it's more expensive. So, and by deprioritized, I mean the people on the residential plan get access to the data first. So in the areas where the speeds are worse, it's going to get even worse. So I think we are still at this juncture where it is, we may have been away from it for a while, but we're going back to it, where it is best if you are somebody that travels extensively and you need really solid internet connection where you go, you can have Starlink as your option for the remote areas, but you also need a cellular option for the areas that are going to be busy. And, that's what we do. We have TravelFi now. We take that with us on top of the Starlink and just
phones.
Use whatever data is better. And your phone is a great option. If you can just tether off your phone, that might be enough for you. But there are options out there, and but it's a challenge because Starlink, I guess my thought is I do think they've oversold the network a little bit. But also the return of the wait list also means that they're trying not to oversell the network in those areas. Maybe they've gone a little bit further than they should have, but they're not going to go any further. So those are things to really watch if you're somebody that's interested in Starlink or has Starlink and is traveling to those areas. You can look on their website and they have an availability map, and that availability map is going to go pretty much hand in hand with the areas that you're not going to get the best service. It's still going to work, but it's not going to be the best in those areas that have no availability for residential.
Perhaps a business owner has stretched himself a little too thin and he needs to pay attention to his businesses. Just saying.
Maybe doing it too many. Too many things.
Too many things. Too many things. I think that you and I can probably share a fresh tank.
We can share a fresh tank.
When I told you my fresh tank, you were mad that I took it from you. So I'm thinking we can share a fresh tank.
So let's do it. Let's just do your black tank and then we'll share.
Yeah. So my black tank is, we went and saw a production. My fresh tank and my black tank are all musical theater based. So buckle up, everybody. You're welcome. My black tank goes to, we went and saw a musical production, the musical production of White Christmas. So White Christmas is my most favorite Christmas movie, if not it is in my top 5 most favorite movies of all time. Bing Crosby, Danny Kaye, Vera Ellen, Rosemary Clooney, a score by Irving Berlin. It is stunning. The costumes are stunning. I love everything about this movie. It was turned into a musical back in early 2000s. I had never seen it. I didn't know anything about it. We went and saw a production of it last weekend. And from start to finish, I pretty much sat there like a very angry theater goer, not because it had anything to do with the production itself or the company on stage. I was so disappointed in this musical adaptation that looked nothing like the music, like the movie itself, the story itself. They had distorted it so much for the sake of distortion, for the sake of being able to rewrite a book and think that they're giving something a new twist, that you take something and it becomes unrecognizable.
You can do that with Legally Blonde or with Mean Girls.
Sure
You can't do that with White Christmas.
I would argue you can't do it with Mean Girls because the Mean Girl, again, it's a movie that's so in it, to some people, it's so culturally a part of everything.
So many people think White Christmas is one of the greatest movies of all time, and it is.
It was so bad.
Here's my favorite part. There's a line. So okay, so
it was so bad.
The Rosemary Clooney character, she leaves because she's mad at Bob, and there's a big misunderstanding. Right. First of all, they make the misunderstanding even dumber.
Oh my gosh, it's so dumb. But
she in the movie, she comes back and on stage during the production, right? Mm-hmm. In the musical, she comes back and just kind of walks in the room, sees Bob in the room, and instead of like this big moment, like, you came back, it's so wonderful. Oh, like this is kind of the climax of the movie is she comes back and Bob turns around and sees her and he's like, "Oh, Betty, I thought you were in New York."
I thought you were in New York.
That's the line. "Betty, I thought you were in New York."
And it's like, what is happening? The script itself is atrocious.
It's bad.
They change names of characters. They integrate, another prime example. It is so bad that when we left and we finally got in the car, I spent the entire car ride home at an elevated vocal level, just losing it on this thing because I don't have a problem with change. I don't have a problem with innovation. I don't have a problem re-looking at something that needs a fresh update. I got zero issue with that. But if you are going to change something, if you are going to take something so beloved, you better do it right. You cannot take General Waverly, the innkeeper, and have him be like, "I want to go back into the army." And then he gets rejected, like in the movie. But then all of a sudden he comes back and he's like, "Hey, I got another letter. And guess what? President Eisenhower pulled some strings for me and I'm back in the army."
It's one of the greatest moments in the movie is when General Waverly gets rejected from the army. And for them to be like, "Oh, just kidding. You're actually going to go into the army in this version."
It's
back into the army.
It is the reason why Bob and Phil go and reach out to that company of men and bring them to Vermont to give the general that feeling again.
Spoiler alert, he doesn't go back in the army because he gets some big sappy monologue about, "I'm going to choose to be an innkeeper instead."
In the span of 1 minute, he's like, "Oh, Eisenhower pulled strings for me. I'm going back in the army." And then he walks out on stage because the show must go on. And he walks out on stage and he goes, "No, I have changed my mind. I am an innkeeper and I will care for this inn." And
it's
you are
so
like,
weird. The whole thing is,
what is happening?
The whole thing is bookended by these two monologues from him. And it's just weird.
It is awful.
That's all you need to know.
Go see it.
Don't see the stage version of White Christmas. You'll be much more enjoyable to sit at home and watch the movie instead.
You want to watch the best things happen while you're dancing. You only want to watch Danny Kaye and Vera Ellen do it. You don't want to watch anybody else do it. I'm just telling you it. Yeah. So anyway, that's my black tank. My fresh tank is that we were able last night to go and cleanse ourselves of all of that because we went as a family last night and we saw Wicked, and it is the best musical I have ever seen on the screen. And I just got done talking about how much I love White Christmas, but this is a tour de force. It is phenomenal. And I cried from the minute it started until the minute it ended because I couldn't believe how beautiful it was.
And you weren't a big Wicked fan.
I am not a fan of Wicked. No.
I have seen the show 3 times and I love it. It's always been one of my sort of guilty pleasure musicals. And this version, they only did act 1. They made it a 2-part movie, and that's
there's been a lot of
complaints about the economics
of
of Hollywood and why you need to do that. And I've I've been saying since that was announced that that's the stupidest thing, because why would you need to do that?
Boy,
But
you were wrong.
when I saw it, I got it. They have the room in a movie to expand upon what's there in the musical, to do the things you can't do on stage. And they adapt it in a really honest way, unlike the White Christmas fiasco where they change everything.
Yeah.
And a lot of movie musicals change everything from the script.
You're not going to see the wizard be like, I'm a wizard and I want to be a wizard. And then he's going to go, no, I don't want to be a wizard anymore. I want to go running in somewhere. And then, no, wait, I want to be a wizard. None of that's going to happen.
It's very faithful. They add stuff, but they don't add scenes. They don't add songs. They just expand.
They add from the book, which is lovely.
They add, the dance numbers are longer. There's more. There's actual choreography in a movie musical. The singing is phenomenal. I had concerns about Ariana Grande going in, and she just kills it.
She is phenomenal. She and Cynthia Erivo are just beautiful together. They're beautiful together. They're beautiful as individual characters. I have seen Wicked. My issues with Wicked always is I was just never really a big fan of Stephen. I've never been a big fan of Stephen Schwartz's music in general, and that's a whole other conversation we don't have to get into. The orchestrations, the way that the story was allowed, I think the story has always needed a film touch. Like I've seen it on stage. I've seen a Broadway production of it. It's wonderful. It hits all its marks, but this is on a level that is so beyond anything we could ever do on stage. And it is really laid at the feet of these two women who are phenomenal. Cynthia Erivo is phenomenal. She has an ability to relay so much in just a single look. Just her ability to just stand there in a moment and let silence just sit is intense.
The movie gives it so much room.
The
second movie, my belief is that the second movie is going to be wildly different though from the original, whereas this first half is very faithful. The act 2 of the musical is only like 35 minutes long or something like that.
You keep shortening that. A little bit ago you told me it was 45 and now you're down to 30.
Whatever it is. The act 2 is short.
Next time we talk about it, you're going to be like, act 2 is only like 15 minutes.
And the vast majority of the good stuff is in act 1. So my feeling is that the second movie is going to have new songs in it. It's going to be expanded. It's going to be a lot more, but this, and I think that's fine because the act 2 was always weaker, but this was just, if you don't like the idea that it's split up in 2 and you feel like, even if you don't know anything about Wicked, you're like, I don't want to see part 1 of a movie and see part 2 2 years later. You do. It is a satisfying end.
This is,
you don't feel like you have to see the second one right now. It's satisfying. It's not a cliffhanger. It's satisfying.
The end ripped my heart out.
I couldn't breathe. I was in a state where I was struggling for a breath at the end of that. It made
me feel like I was 15 years old again, in the sense of watching something that when I was 15 years old, I was so impacted by Phantom of the Opera. I wanted, that just changed my whole world, seeing that show. It changed my whole trajectory of life. Sitting there last night and watching that, sitting next to my son, who's almost that age, who is interested in a career, or at least exploring and enjoying something that I love so much, to think about how something like that is impacting him and changing his trajectory. And even then, all these years later, 30 years later, I left, and all I wanted to do was go be in a musical. All I wanted to do was go and sing and be on stage and experience and feel everything that I was feeling in that theater. And you don't have to like musicals. You don't have to know anything about this show. Jack went with us. He knew nothing about the music. He knew nothing about the movie. He knew nothing about the story. And he came out of it. And this is our very critical movie kid. And he was like, that was amazing. That was phenomenal. And he talked at length about this. So this is a really accessible movie musical that we have talked a really long time about. So we should probably wrap it up. But please go see it. It is worth it. See it on the big screen. You got to see it on the big screen.
It's one of those that is
and
definitely
Anthony
worth it.
Bridgerton is phenomenal in it. And if y'all know what I mean, you know what I mean. Anthony Bridgerton is so good in this movie. Go see it. You're going to love it.
That's it for this week's episode of the RV Miles podcast.
Ooh, yes, it is. Thank you so much for joining us this week. As always, if you are enjoying RV Miles podcast, could you do us a solid and head over to Apple Podcast and please leave us a 5-star review. Every time we get a 5-star review, that just tells the algorithm that this is something more people might be interested in. It takes 30 seconds, but it makes a huge impact at what we do here at RV Miles. The same if you're watching this. If you could just like and subscribe to this channel, it tells the algorithm that we're all trying to be nice with, that this is something of value that others might find interest in. But until next week, if you want to find Jason and I, please come over to the RV Miles Facebook group. We'd love to hear what you think about our travels and any recommendations you have. And until next week, friends, please stay safe, stay warm, go defy gravity, and keep logging those RV miles.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.